Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to talk about the top 5 mistakes we all can do while building our first gaming PC. If you are new to building a gaming PC or PC in general, there are a lot of things that you need to take care about, to the point that it almost becomes a bit overwhelming. From choosing the right components, making sure they're compatible, assembling all of them in the correct manner, to actually making them run by installing all the proper drivers, plenty of things need to make sure that they are good. And while there are plenty of guides out there of how to build your own gaming computer, there isn't a lot of information of what not to do during this process. Well, the truth is there is so much going on and so many things to consider when you are building your first gaming computer that it is fairly common to see beginners make mistakes. Usually these mistakes, nothing to fret about, and it's not the end of the world. However, if you aren't careful, you can do some serious damage to your PC. So today, I'm going to list some of the most common PC building mistakes that we can all do and how we can easily avoid doing them. A like on this video would be highly appreciated, and please subscribe to my channel for more awesome content. And let's go. The most serious and often the most dangerous mistake that we tend to make while building our first gaming PC is get a cheap, unbranded power supply and skimp on its quality. The power supply is the heart of your system, and so it is absolutely necessary to get a good branded power supply. If your power supply goes boom, it will generally take out your whole system with it, more often than not. You should make the most informed purchase decision when it comes to the PSU. It's not that you will always have to get the most expensive or the most highly rated power supply for your build. What's more important than watts and the ratings in power supply is the brand of the product. There are a handful of PSU manufacturers that are generally solid options. Units from companies like Seasonic, Corsair, EVGA, Cooler Master are generally trustworthy and made from some good quality materials. And there are also PSUs made by companies that should absolutely be avoided. PSUs built by manufacturers like Kentex, Zebronics, Raidmax, Diablock, etc. are generally terrible options that should not see the light of the day. The worst part about these companies is not only that their power supplies are crappy, but also that they tricked the first-time builders into thinking that their products are high quality than they really are. Most first-time builders won't take the time to learn about how power supplies are rated and will only look at the listed wattage for the power supply. So rather than picking out a quality 550 watt power supply, they might skip it over because they see that there is an 850 watt power supply available for half the price. The golden rule for choosing your power supply is first and foremost going to any power supply calculator website, put in your expected specs and see the resulting wattage that your specs will require. These sites are quite reliable and provides a wattage with ample amount of headroom. Once you are sure of the wattage that will be required, you can choose any well-branded power supply mentioned above and buy a minimum 80 plus bronze rated unit for reliability. With higher powered builds, you should go for 80 plus gold or 80 plus platinum units. So the rule of the thumb here is, as long as the brand is good and well known and the rating is ample for your system, you are good to go. Compatibility between various parts can be one of the most tricky subjects in building computers. Components and hardware might be same on the offset, but might be incompatible with one another when plugged in. The most common mistake is buying a processor and a motherboard of different manufacturers only to find yourself they don't go together. The less informed buyer might end up getting an Intel processor and an AMD motherboard, and they will never work together. Even making sure the processor and the motherboard support the same brand like Intel or AMD is not enough. You will have to make sure that the generations and chipsets models are supported with each other. For example, you might buy an Intel processor and a motherboard supporting Intel CPUs, but the processor is of the 6th generation, whereas the motherboard might be supporting only 8th and 9th generation chips. Once again, they won't work together and you will have to either return or replace it. And of course, a lot of time, new builders will choose components that physically won't fit into their case they have chosen. Whether they accidentally purchased a graphics card that is too long for the case, or they picked a motherboard that is too large to fit in the case. If the components won't fit in the case, your computer won't work. So before you purchase your components, you need to make sure that they will work together. Doubly check what components you have narrowed down. Go on to PCPartFigure.com and list all your components there. They will clearly mention whether your system has any incompatible parts or not. When it comes to putting on thermal paste, it can be a tricky situation. Thermal paste application is somewhat of an art. If you are not careful, you can create a huge mess with it, and if you don't put enough, you can cause heating issues with your CPU. Perhaps the easiest way to apply thermal paste is to place one drop of thermal paste on the middle of the back of the processor, and when you install the heatsink on top of it, it will spread out. This doesn't completely cover the back of the CPU, which is okay, but if you are looking for more thorough distribution of the thermal paste, you can drop a dab or two of the thermal paste and spread it out with a credit card or a heat spreader, or to get a thin even coat that covers the majority of the back of the CPU. However, using this method, just be sure that the layer is not too thick and that you leave a small gap at the edges of the back of the CPU. This is because when you install the heatsink and it presses down on the back of the CPU, the thermal paste on the back of it is going to get forced out to the edges. And if you went right up to the edges of the thermal paste, it is likely that it will spill over into the heatsink and will spoil it. This happens when you have more than one memory stick or RAM, and then it is one of the most common building mistakes. Putting your RAM sticks in incorrect order can result in a host of problems while booting your PC up for the first time. It can either result in no post or can significantly reduce performance from the expected results. When installing memory in dual channel mode, and if your motherboard has more than 2 memory slots, the RAM will always go in alternate slots to make them work in dual channel configuration. The motherboard is typically color coded to let you know which channels to put your RAM into. As a word of note, typically the dual channels are staggered. So, rather than putting both of your memory sticks in slots right next to each other, you stagger them and leave a slot between one another. What new builders often do, though, is to install their dual memory stick right next to each other, which prevents the RAM from being run in dual channel mode, thereby losing a significant amount of performance. So before you install your memory, make sure you check your motherboard's manual to ensure you are putting them in the right slots. With RGB being the new craze and so much of an eye candy to most system builders, this can be one of the most glaring mistakes that many first-time PC builders might make. While there are a lot of different components that are needed to build a computer, not all of them play as big a role in the resulting performance as others. Of the components that make up your computer, your processor and video card for gaming are going to be the biggest determiners of how well your computer actually performs. If you are building a gaming computer, your video card will be the most important component in your system. And then from there, other important components are your motherboard, memory, power supply and storages. However, what a lot of first-time builders do is they spend less than they should on the components that are actually going to matter and dictate what kind of performance they will actually get, and they overspend on components that don't have a big impact on their system's performance. For instance, a new builder may go out and choose a $200 full tower computer case that looks cool and has fancy RGB lighting, despite the fact that they only have $600 to spend on the entire system. This forces them to spend a lot less on their CPU and GPU, and as a result, they are losing a significant amount of their performance. Now, I am not saying that you should skimp on everything but your CPU and GPU, but just that you should seek to achieve some kind of balance between your components according to the impact those components will play on your system's performance. If you want some help with building a balanced part list, I have some PC build guides on my channel. Please feel free to check them out. New and updated build guides will be available soon. They essentially give you ready-to-go part lists that are balanced and that can be used as is or modified according to your liking. So thanks for watching this video, guys. I hope this video will help you a lot and you will avoid doing these first-time rookie mistakes when building your first gaming computer. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe to my channel and like this video if you have liked it. Game on and goodbye.